Hey, what is going on, folk? I am back with another presentation. Now, this video, I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. This is definitely something that's been on my mind for the longest time. Y'all know when I put these videos up on Facebook, when I put them up on YouTube, that I actually have a good time making these videos. But at the same time, when I make the videos, some of these videos are not made to make you feel good. They're not lovey-dovey videos to make you feel good. Some of my videos are going to challenge you. Some of my videos are going to hold you accountable to want to do better and want to self-improve. Some of my videos are going to challenge you to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to improve? And this video is going to be the one that's going to do it. We're going to talk about generational curses. And yes, I'll go ahead and let you know right off the bat, I might just get a little loud in this video, but that's okay. Because I'm definitely going to hit home. This video is going to hit home to a lot of you guys that's out there listening. So today, what I want to discuss is generational curses. We're going to look at what is a generational curse. We're going to look at how much of an impact does that have on families. And last but not least, we're going to look at some ways that you can overcome those generational curses. Now, for the record, one of my favorite Churches of Christ preachers is Minister David Lane. You can actually look up his videos on YouTube. I'm not sure if he even has a Facebook, but you can look up his videos on YouTube and you're going to see that he does a lot of sermons on YouTube. But this was definitely something that he had, a video that he had made talking about family ministry. And I'll never forget what he said in the beginning of the video. He talked about how everybody's family is dysfunctional. Yep, your family's dysfunctional. My family's dysfunctional. But it's pretty much to the degree of what that dysfunction is. Some families may be a 2 or a 3 on the dysfunctional scales from 1 to 10, right? Then you got some families that's all the way up to a 10. So all families are dysfunctional to some degree, but it just depends on the degree of that dysfunction. If you and me had an excuse to be a failure in life, our family background by itself will give us plenty reasons of why we'd be a failure in life. That's just right off the bat. Our family background give us plenty of excuses. There's some choices that's already made for us. You can't choose who your mother is. You can't choose who your father is. You can't choose when you're born. You can't choose the family that you're born into. You don't even have a choice on what environment that you grow up in. But guess what choices you have? You have the choice of how you're going to respond to that environment. How you're going to respond to that upbringing. So once you know right from wrong, at that point, that's when you are held accountable. Now I want y'all to stay with me. We talking about generational curses here. What is a generational curse? A behavior or a characteristic trait that's passed down from one generation to the next. Y'all know what they are. Alcoholism, financial mismanagement, poverty, drug abuse, failed marriages, domestic violence, womanizing. These are all bad characteristic traits that are passed down from one generation to the next. Do any of those traits ring a bell for you? Do you see any of these traits going on in your family and your community? How does it affect families? It tears families apart. It destroys communities. We wonder why the community is such in bad shape. Because these family curses got a foothold on the community, on the family structure. It's a repeating cycle. That's the dangerous part of it. It's a repeating cycle. I want you to understand something. Every time you pick up that bottle of alcohol, guess what you just did? You just increased the likelihood of your son and daughter picking up that same habit. Yeah, you might not, you might tell them, hey, don't drink alcohol. You might say, hey, don't be like me. But you just increased the likelihood of them doing the same thing. If you were sexually promiscuous as a teen, as a young adult, congratulations. You just increased the chances of your son and daughter picking up that same habit. Y'all see how serious this is? I want to talk to the parents and the grandparents out there. I want y'all to realize something. You know how you want to be proud of your children, proud of your grandchildren? Have you ever asked that question? Are my children proud of me? Are my grandchildren proud of me? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Because when they do wrong, the parents and the grandparents check them. But who's checking you when you're doing wrong? Yeah, that's my question to the parents and the grandparents out there. Who's checking you? A lot of y'all are doing wrong and you've been doing it for so long, it don't even bother you anymore. And then you have the nerve to be able to go to bed with a clear conscience. I'm sorry, if that's your attitude as a parent, you got a serious problem and you need to go get help. I don't know any other way to put it. See, one thing about a lot of the black families out there, when it comes to the discipline, we got the discipline down pat. Oh, I'm gonna get in your butt if you get out of line. I'm gonna whoop your butt if you cut up, if you act a fool. We got that part down pat. But the other areas that we have an issue with is the teaching and setting the example. Do y'all see where I'm going with this? Teaching, setting the example. Because that takes a little bit more time. That takes a little bit more effort. That takes a little bit more discipline on your part. A lot of us are not willing to put in the effort with the teaching and the discipline and being an example. The discipline should be the last resort. After you've done some teaching, after you've shown the example by yourself. Because that's the main thing that kids see are your actions. Now, we're going to look at how to overcome those generational curses. I got 4 tips for you. The first tip is to recognize what they are. Recognizing what those generational curses are, what those downfalls are. I grew up in Vegas, right? I grew up in Vegas. I lived here in Vegas as a kid, right? Growing up, and this don't have nothing to do with families, but it's something similar. Growing up, I would hear about these athletes that are on the verge of going to college. They don't end up going. Yeah, we got a lot of talented athletes that come out of Vegas, that come through Vegas, but they don't end up going to college. And you want to know what the main 2 reasons why? It's either academics or it's girls. I'm talking about the male athletes here. Either they didn't put forth the effort they need to take care of business in the classroom, they weren't passing tests, or they was involved with some girl. They ended up getting some girl pregnant. Instead of focusing on grades, focusing on hitting the books, They would rather chase girls. I would hear that time and time again. And now their college dreams are shattered. I don't think you realize how much that motivated me. How that made me more determined than ever to not only get through high school, excel in high school. Whether it's sports, whether it's academics, excel in that. Going off to college, excelling in that. Graduating from college. Because I made up in my mind that, you know what? That's not going to happen to me. I'm going to make it. So you got to recognize what those generational curses are, what those bad habits are. Number 2, accountability. Think about it, accountability. I remember my boy Kenny Landrum had put up a post saying, one of the main rules being a leader is everything is your fault. That's the mentality that you need to have. If I end up being a screw up in life, that's my fault because I didn't take care of business like I should. I don't end up being successful in life. If I don't end up having a good career, that's my fault because I didn't put in the work to do that. I didn't have the discipline to be able to carry that out. If I don't get married in the next 5 years, guess whose fault that is? That's my fault. Because I should have stepped my game up since day one. When you have that attitude that everything is my fault, you know what's going to happen? You're going to stop making excuses. You're going to have a sense of urgency, a sense of purpose about you. You're going to start accomplishing more. When you take an inventory of your life 10, 20 years from now, you're going to be like, wow, I've done a lot. Look at all the things I accomplished. I may have made a mistake here and there, but I got through it. I course corrected. Accountability plays a big part. Instead of pointing the finger at everybody else, you need to be pointing the finger at you. Rising above your circumstances. I told you before, we all have an excuse to be a failure in life based off of our background alone, our family background. You can rise above that. Don't let it defeat you. The 4th thing, you teaching your offspring better. When you have children of your own, you be that example. You start teaching them better. I want to ask y'all a question. How many people do it take to break a generational curse? To stop the repeating cycle? How many people does it take? It only takes one person. It only takes one person to break that cycle. It only takes one person to start a whole new legacy for that family. Somebody's going to get sick and tired of how things are going. Somebody's going to get sick and tired of everybody else making excuses for their problems. Somebody's going to get sick and tired and say, you know what? Everybody going that way? Guess what? I'm going to go this way. Because it didn't work for you, it ain't going to work for me. Some of us, it's almost like we're waiting for something bad to happen to us in order for us to change. In order for us to start doing right. Don't you know you can course correct before the punishment comes? A lot of us seem to be waiting on a punishment that happened before we get our act together. You can course correct before the punishment comes. It's called repentance. Change of mind, a change of action. There's a scripture that says, when you know what's right to do and you fail to do it, that is sin. So you think you're going to get away with anything? Those are the 4 tips on how to break the cycle. How to break up the generational curse. How you can start a whole new legacy where your grandkids, where you can set up your kids and your grandkids for some success. You can set them up so they can have God's favor in their life. And they're going to be wondering, oh, well, how come they're this way? How come they're having success? And it's going to be pointed back to you because you made a choice to want to do better. So you never know. You can be that person in your family that can change things around. You can be that person that can make a difference and change your whole family's life. But it's up to you. Let me know what you think.